What's up, guys? Jake Hutton from Fitness Culture here. I'm back, all right? I've been gone for a minute. If you've been a fan of the channel, I'm sorry. If you want to know where I've been, too bad. So today's video, we're going to be covering my top 4 reasons people get stuck in a bench press plateau. But before we go over that, click the link in the description and you can get a free week in our Drive program in the Fitness Culture app. Check it out, see if it's for you. But let's get into this. So the 4 reasons that I see mainly, especially these reasons really are mostly for beginners. So if you're an advanced bench presser, you probably might not have these issues. 4 reasons are: 1 is gonna be a sloppy setup. So we're gonna cover that today. The next one's gonna be lack of grip variation. So I see a lot of beginners just hitting the same grip every time they come in. So we'll cover that. The next one would be lack of tempo change or no control of the tempo. So they're just hitting the same standard reps every time and not controlling that time under tension. So we're gonna show you kind of how we do that in our program and ways to program that into your routine. And the last one is lack of structural balance. So not working on those muscles, they're gonna allow you to have a great setup and stability in the bench press. So let's get into it. All right, so the first one's gonna be sloppy setup. So when you first start bench pressing, you see a lot of people, they'll just lay down on the bench. They don't set up their legs, so they don't have a strong base. They don't set up their upper back. Their shoulders are kind of round and forward. And then the bar placement in their hand is kind of an improper placement. Not that it's bad, but we can make it better. So I'm gonna go over kind of how to fix those things. And really, the reason that those things are all bad is, number 1, you're gonna have no stability in the movement. So when we think about setting in our upper back on the bench press, we're gonna wanna set our shoulder blades down and back. What that's gonna do is create a lot of stability. If we're just relaxed here, there's no stability here in the movement. So we're gonna lose stability, which is gonna cause an unpredictable bar path. And then just the grip, the way you're holding the bar, is gonna cause a loss of force production. And that unpredictable bar path is also gonna cause a loss of force production when you're just all over the place coming down. So we're gonna cover, number 1, where you should place the bar in your hand. The first thing is, a lot of people when they first start bench pressing, they'll just grab the bar and they'll let it just sit kind of on their upper hand here. So like in this space in their hand. And what that's gonna do is, when you're coming down, it's gonna bend your wrist a ton. And then also, as you press off your chest, as your wrist bends, you're gonna lose a little bit of force that you could be pressing into the bar, but instead that's pressing as your wrist bends. You're gonna lose a little bit of force that you could be putting into the bar. So what you wanna try to do is think about putting that bar right down your palm right here. So the way that I like to do it is, I'll hook my thumb under the bar, set it into my palm here, and then what that allows you to do is really stack your wrist straight as you come down. So I'm able to bench press quite a bit of weight and not use wrist straps, and I've never used them because I have a good bar placement. And I also have a huge callus at the bottom of my palm here, and it's because I placed the bar in that position, right? So really think about, you're gonna hook your thumbs, place it at the bottom of your palm, and then you're gonna try to break the bar in half as you grip the bar. All right, the next thing we're gonna cover is how we wanna set up our upper back before we bench press. So instead of just laying back and being relaxed, really, I mean, I'm sure you've seen a ton of like power lifters just do a crazy arch. I don't do that when I bench, but what I do is something similar that's a part of that arch, which is going to be squeezing your shoulder blades down and back and really trying to pull your scapula down and towards the midline of your back as much as you can. Think of it just a really proud chest. And the reason that we're doing that is, you're retracting those scapulas and setting them into place. And what that's gonna do is cause a lot of stability right here in your arm. So like if you're just loose here, I mean, the thing that I used to deal with our athletes, especially shoulder guys, if they're just relaxed here and you try to move someone's arm, it's like really hard to control it and stop them from doing it. If you set your chest in and hold your arm there, then you have a lot more stability there, right? Bench press is obviously a movement that you practice and you can get good at. And the only way to get really good at something is to do it the same every time. So we wanna have a perfect bar path, and then we can get stronger in that bar path. So I'll just show you kind of the routine that I go through to set up. So number 1 would be crawling your shoulder blades down the bench just a little bit, get set up in a little bit of an arch, but just a really nice tight upper back. Grab the bar and then think about bending the bar in half as we unrack it right here. So really, you're getting that straight bar path, just straight up and down, same spot every time. All right, the last one's gonna be having a nice solid base in your legs when you set up. So I do see a lot of novice lifters, like beginning lifters, they'll just lay back with their legs here, just kind of barely touching. Number 1, that's almost similar to like putting your feet up on the bench, where you just have no stability, you're all over the place. Again, that's gonna cause a loss of force that you're gonna be able to put into the bar, and stability is gonna be a lot harder, right? So you wanna go a little bit wider. It's obviously gonna be whatever's comfortable for you. I try to go a wider base when I set in, pulling the shoulder blades down, crawling my feet back just a little bit into a point where I can drive. When I press off the bench, I'm literally pushing myself back, where obviously the weight would be holding me down, but I'm pressing myself back with that solid base as I'm driving up. So it's allowing you to use all that force in your body and press it into the bar. You'll notice that a lot of guys, if they don't set up nice and tight, what's gonna happen is you naturally just do it, right? You're naturally gonna be pressing up. You press up and then your butt's coming way off the bench, right? It's obviously something that's beneficial to the bench press, but just make sure that you get a nice wider stance, nice and tight into your setup, so you can press hard into the floor as you press that bar off your chest. All right, so the next reason that people get stuck in a plateau is they never vary their grip on the bench press. So in the Fitness Culture app, we always do bring them through a training block of close grip bench. And I love close grip bench for a few reasons. It's a bigger range of motion, which is nice. It's gonna really help you with your lockout strength and focusing on getting your triceps stronger. It's also really nice, but it's easier on your shoulders, right? Because this wide bench press all the time, just going heavy in that same spot all the time, it's just really hard on your shoulders when you're a heavy bench press guy. So I'm just gonna go over a little kind of like how we progress grip as we work through a training block. Typically what we'll do is we'll start close grip. We usually classify close grip as where the knurling starts, right here on the bar. But with that said, really what you want your close grip to be is somewhere where you can be stacked over your shoulders without forcing your wrists to come in and your elbows come out. A lot of guys will go too close, their wrists come in, their elbows come out. Number one, it's gonna kill your wrists, right? Number two, you're not gonna be able to put a ton of force into the bar because your wrists do hurt so much and your elbows are just flared out in a bad position. So I always try to tell people on that close grip, you still wanna be able to set your back in, crank that bar, and then stack your wrist over your elbow as you come down in the close grip. And if it's turned in at all, you're probably too close. So typically, we'll start with our athletes in their close grip. So we'd be here. Again, notice right when I take it off, I'm turning my elbows in, I'm externally rotating. So I always set up, externally rotate, and then you want your elbows nice and close to your body. Wrist stacked right over the elbows. From there, we usually do that for about 4 weeks of the training block, and then we'll start pushing people out to their regular grip. So the way that we usually classify that in our program, we go from close grip to a half thumb grip to a full thumb grip. And then for a lot of people, the pinky on the ring here is gonna be their normal bench grip. So we'll let them move out to their normal bench grip. So we don't go straight from close grip out to your normal grip. We'll take a couple weeks moving their grip out so they get strong through a wide variety of grips, and then spend that last training block just working through their strongest grip before we work them up to a 1 rep max. All right, so reason number 3 is lack of tempo control. So a huge mistake I see a lot of people make in the gym is lifting at what I would call their natural tempo all the time. They never control it, and they never control the eccentric phase of the lift. There's a ton of benefits to controlling the eccentric phase of the lift, but the number one thing for me, especially with people that are new to the bench, is really mastering that movement pattern of the lift. Almost all of the programs that I write, I usually develop them in a 12-week training cycle with 3 different training blocks, 4-week blocks, right? That first training block, I'm always gonna do something that's a slower, controlled eccentric. And really the reason that I like doing that is, number one, it's great for an accumulation phase at the beginning of a training cycle because you have more time under tension. But then number 2 is going to be that it really drives in that movement pattern, and you can really see if your athlete is proficient at the movement. So what's gonna happen is, if you control the eccentric, you're not gonna be all over the place. You're gonna really be able to dial that bar path in because you're moving nice, slow, and controlled. That really teaches you to control the lift. Inevitably, at the end of the training block, you're gonna have more control over the bench press, which is gonna allow you to put more force into the bar, and it's gonna drive your bench press up. So we always use a 4-number system to control the tempo in the Fitness Culture app. It's the easiest way to make sure that our athletes are actually getting the time under tension that we're looking for in every movement. So say we use a 4-0-X-0 tempo. So that first number, the 4, will be the eccentric phase of the movement. So that means you will control the weight for a 4-count eccentric. The 0, which came next, on the bench press, it would be the pause at the chest, right? But it's always gonna be that time between the eccentric and the concentrics. 4-0 means you don't pause at the chest. So X in this instance means you're just moving as fast as possible. So you come down for a 4 count, 0 pause, explode up as fast as possible. And that last number, 0, would be the 0 count at the top. And that's always gonna be the time between the concentric back into the eccentric phase of the movement. So we always use a 4-number tempo just because it makes it super efficient. If we want our athletes to control it down for a 3 count, 2 count pause, it would be a 3-2-X-0 tempo, right? or 3, 2, 1, 0 tempo, whatever we need. We can use it for every movement, and it really allows us to control the day, control the total volume and the total time under tension for every day that we program. All right, reason number 4 is gonna be poor structural balance. Basically what that means is we wanna have a structurally balanced, in the bench press, shoulder girdle. So if we push something, probably gonna wanna pull something, but specifically in the bench press, I try to do, and this is kind of controversial to some people, but the way that I look at it, I think it makes it less controversial, is a 2-to-1 or even a 3-to-1 push to pull ratio, meaning every time that we push, we want to pull at least 2 times, right? And the thing that to think about here, and the way that I think about it, every external rotator that I do, I'm going to count that as a pull here, and then any upper back, small upper back movement, where a lot of people might classify this as a rear delt shoulder movement. I also try to think of those as a pulling movement as well, because really we're trying to get an externally rotated position and work those scapular retractors. And what that's gonna do, it's really gonna balance your shoulder girdle out, try to achieve structural balance, but then also we're getting really, really strong external rotators and scapular retractors. Those are what's gonna make it so we can really set up on the bench and get a ton of stability. It's gonna help you strengthen the stability there. It's also just gonna keep your shoulder nice and healthy, because all that pressing and even pulling down with vertical pulls is gonna pull that shoulder forward a little bit, right? So if we want to avoid getting pain and impingements in the shoulder, we wanna really strive to have structural balance in your shoulder girdles. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys a little test to see if your bench press and your external rotators are in structural balance. I read an article in college and I was stuck at a 425 bench press, just plateaued there for longer than I'd ever been. At the time I was making big jumps, and then all of a sudden it just stopped, right? And I realized after this, I realized that I really didn't have structural balance and I had no stability in my shoulder. So the article that I read was that Charles Poliquin, he tested one of his athletes with this external rotator movement. I'll show you what it is right now. So just controlling it down, all the way down, and then coming back up. Right? So really no specific tempo here, just control on the way down and then coming back up. By getting the athlete's rotator strength to 9 to 10% of his close grip bench max, his athlete's bench press just went way up, right? So after I read that article, I made a point of it, and I really spent a lot of time on my external rotators. I mean, at the time, I think my bench press again was 425, and there's no way I could have done a 40. I wasn't even close. I was maybe like a 20 or a 25. And by the end of it, once I did get that external rotator strength up, I was able to keep progressing my bench press for multiple years after that. So I've done this with a lot of athletes, and you'd be surprised how many people have a pretty big bench press and have a hard time doing just a 15 or a 20 on this movement. So try it out. All right, so I'm gonna finish this video up by just giving you guys 5 exercises quickly that you can add into your routine to help achieve structural balance. Typically, where I add these in the program, you wanna be able to do these heavy. A lot of the time, if I'm doing a heavy bench press, I'm gonna be supersetting that with some type of heavy upper back movement. When I'm going back and forth like that, supersetting, it's not, which might sound counterintuitive, it's not really gonna fatigue my rotators enough that it's affecting my bench press performance. And so I've just always done it that way. But if you don't have time for that, another way that I do it, if I have like a dedicated arm day, I'm always doing a tri set with bis, tris, and then I'll do some type of external rotator upper back movement. Or I'll do it both. I'll do it with my bench press and then add it there too. Because again, the more that you can add these, I just think the stronger your rotators are gonna get, and that's definitely never gonna be a problem long term. So Alex just told me that was a little wordy. So if you want a good example of how we program or how I program into the week, again, we have that drive program linked at the bottom of the description here, at the bottom of the description. I don't fucking know what I'm saying. We can just keep that in the description. You can click that link, download the drive program, and kind of show you how these get worked into the program. All right, let's move into our first movement. If you've ever done one of our programs, I love this movement. It's easy to do anywhere. Anyone can do it with just a dumbbell. So we just call it external rotator off the knee. And really what you want to do here, you want to slide your heel close to your butt to get that knee nice and high. You want to sit your elbow here, and I like to press it like, just press your elbow into your knee here, and then be at a 90-degree angle. And then you're going to sit kind of looking into your knee right here, and you're going to control it down, all the way down, and then you're gonna come all the way up, just like that. The next exercise, standing 90-degree external rotator. I just set the bench up all the way meaning all the way forward, so it's as high as possible. You wanna sink your knee down so that you're at a 90-degree angle here, and then you'll go 90 degrees here. So it's kind of a 90-90 right there. So it's nice and high, your elbow's nice and high. Same as off the knee, you're just gonna control it all the way down. I'm gonna come down until that hits the bench, and then back up. Just all the way back up. Nice and under control. The other thing that's great about these movements is they really stretch out your external rotators. A lot of times when we introduce these movements with people, they have a really hard time because they lack the flexibility to get all the way down to the bench, right? So it's good to work through 4 ranges of motion like this to keep your mobility nice and healthy as well. All All right, the next one's gonna be an incline Y raise. So we also call this an incline trap 3 raise, because what we're trying to do when we do these is strengthen those scapular retractors as we move up into the Y positions. We're gonna extend to the bottom, squeeze our shoulder blades down and back, thumbs to the sky, elbows locked out, and then try to get our bicep past our ear. So move it here, just let it hang. You're gonna thumbs to the sky, squeeze your shoulder blades down and back, thumbs are pointed up. We're gonna come up, try to get our bicep past the ear, spend some time up there. That's really where all the work's being done. The work is being done up here. So avoid on this movement, we're swinging it up just like that. What we really wanna do is squeeze down and back, control it up, squeeze it at the top, control it at the top, and then control it back down. All right, the next one's gonna be a band pull apart. All right, so I like this one because most people have a band. It's super easy just to grab in between sets and knock out a few reps, right? So on a band pull apart, we want our hands to be somewhat close together, right around shoulder width. Keep your arms straight the entire time, because again, we're trying to focus on those scapular retractors. So I like to set my shoulder blades down and back, and then just pull straight across, come back, keep tension on the band, and then right into the next rep. So another great thing about a band pull apart is you have multiple variations. So we can kind of hit how we just hit that Y raise on the incline bench. You can do that with a band pull apart just by using both hands and then coming into this position here. So keeping both arms straight, thumb to the sky, and you're getting a nice Y raise on this top shoulder, and then a nice little A pull down on this one. All right, last movement I'm gonna show you guys is the pal raise. So the way you're gonna do this, you're gonna lay down, try to keep your head in a neutral position, which a lot of the times I don't, but keep it neutral. What you're gonna do, again, you're gonna think about flexing that tricep, and then try to put the head of the dumbbell right down your eye line and keep it there the entire time. So we're trying to work those muscles that are, again, retracting your scapula. So what we want to avoid in this one, and this is the most common mistake, is letting your lat take over and pulling back in this angle, right? Not necessarily bad, but that's not what we're looking for in the movement, right? So that head of the dumbbell is right down your eye line, elbow is locked out, flex the tricep, come all the way up, and then control back down to the starting position. And a lot of these movements, again, it's really important to control back down to the starting position, because if you just let it fall back down, you're not gonna get the work that we're looking for in the movement. So really, on this one, control the eccentric, nice and controlled, just like that. All right, guys, that wraps it up for today's video. I hope that that video provided some value. Remember, if you want to download a free week in the Drive program, we have it in the description, and we use a lot of the stuff that I went over in the program, so you might enjoy it, and that is also available in the Fitness Culture app. If you like this video, leave me a comment and let me know. Boost my ego a little bit so I keep making them. And let me know what you want me to cover next, and I'll catch you next time.